cloud security engineer? How works. So as usual, I put a form in my LinkedIn and I started to receive, this kind of questions.
Cloud became more and more important to the day-to-day running and business continuity of organizations.
That really prepare me, or internships that really prepare me for my CV to later, I can say that I'm going to join the cloud security engineering as a second step.
So the mistake that people do, especially even ourselves who are experts, we actually make it look to beginners that you can easily come out of campus.
Right now, how I can choose and what is like the recommended certifications to be a cloud security engineer.
People want to deliver software very fast. There's agile, there's DevOps, all these things. You even say now DevSecOps. Hi, Mohammed. I like to be a cloud security engineer. Then from there, you can now work backwards and say, what does it take to be a cloud security engineer? What courses should I take? What certifications should I do? What hands-on projects should I build?
Welcome everyone in a new episode of the Cyber Corner podcast. And again, with a special guest with us, I want to welcome with me this time, Mr. Kevin Tuei. I want to thank you so much for accepting our invitation and sharing your insights today. So Kevin, today, basically, topic going to be so interesting for the people who want to really join the cloud security. And absolutely, we are with the right person to explain the details about the question that we're going to ask today. So welcome again, Kevin. I'm going to leave the word for you to introduce more yourself for the audience and what you are doing in the cybersecurity words and all this kind of stuff.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mohammed. Pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here with you on this podcast. And thank you so much for all our listeners and viewers who are watching us. As Mohammed has mentioned, my name is Kevin Tuei. I'm a senior cloud and cybersecurity consultant. As much as I wear so many hats, but that is the best one that I can put on right now. And what I can say is I've been in the industry for around 7 years now. And the beauty about it is I'm both in the industry side of things as well as the academia. So apart from helping in consulting with clients, helping them maybe migrate to the cloud and making sure that you are sure about their security as they get into the cloud, we also help in terms of training. And it's very important because we're training on these emerging technologies such as cloud computing, such as AI, data science, and all these they all come together with one thing in mind, that is security. So I usually have this one mantra, and it's there across my profiles. I usually say, making the world a better place through technology, because each and everything that you're doing, including this podcast, is aimed at that. So
I want to thank you so much for your contribution to the community. Guys, Kevin, he's so active. He's helping a lot of the community. So thank you so much for that. And it's really a common point between us. This is what I like. So about today, basically episode. Here's the thing. So we know cybersecurity, when it comes to cybersecurity, and you can't say that like this, I'm working in a cybersecurity. We know that it exists a lot of fields. We know that you are doing something specific in cybersecurity. And then, here's the thing. I got my students and they really want to understand, okay, we know that you can be a pen tester. We know that you can be, a SOC analyst. What about to be a cloud security engineer? How this works. So as usual, I put a form in my LinkedIn and I started to receive, this kind of questions. And starting basically, as your basically cybersecurity expert and cloud expert too, we're gonna start, with the first question that I got. So basically, can you explain what is a cloud security and how it differs compared to the other cybersecurity fields? So what is the difference, for example, to be a cloud security engineer and a pen tester or a SOC analyst? Can you explain really that? What is a cloud engineer?
So I think the best way to answer that question is to just trace where we started, right? And when you look at, because security didn't start yesterday. It has been there since the World War, and military were finding ways. Back then it was all about how can you secure the information so that your enemies cannot get to know your strategy, so that you can have a competitive advantage over them, so that you can win the war. But as we moved on through to the 80s, and then we had the microcomputers, then we moved from just data security, that is trying to just making sure that data is confidential, to what we now usually call the CIA triad, which has become like the standard when anyone is learning cybersecurity, talk about confidentiality, integrity, as well as availability, because computers became more and more connected. And also we got it to a point where we also had these devices become ubiquitous, like we're having smartwatches, we're having smart wearables, we are having IoT devices. So that meant that the aspect of protecting data just because it is scattered became a thing of the past. It was passed with technology. Data and information became more and more democratic. So it gets to a point where when looking at this traditional kind of security, people felt like the best way is to set up their own server rooms, harden their security, making sure that the users within the organization are leveraging the best practices. But then again, COVID hit us, and it got to a point where you can no longer tell people you have to work, you have to come to the office so that we can assure that you are accessing our resources securely. Organizations had to find ways of making sure that their workers can work from wherever they are, from home. So that got to a point where now cloud became more and more important to the day-to-day running and business continuity of organizations. So that is where you can see, if I trace that path, and you can see how we moved on from the early ages to where we are now, it tells us that cloud security and the traditional kind of security, they have one goal. The one goal is to assure the confidentiality, integrity, availability, and all these other things usually called non-repudiation, all these different kind of aspects in concepts in cybersecurity, to be there wherever you are, whether you are doing it on premise, that is within your own data center in an organization, or when you're working in the cloud and you're leveraging these resources. So technically what I can say is the difference really lies in where the resources are. Traditional was really all about on-premise, but with cloud security, there are now new challenges with these distributed environments, virtual environments, temporary environments, ephemeral environments, and all these different kind of challenges that come into play. That means that security and there's usually this myth, Mohammed, that people say, if you go to the cloud, you become less secure. You better set up your own things and set up your own resources and workloads on premise. That is the only way you can be assured of security. But I believe by the end of the podcast, we'll have already demystified and debunked that misconception that people do have, because cloud is there to stay. And now with the age of AI, you cannot set up a good data center to host your own local large language model to learn how you're doing things. And trust me, the difference is very subtle. It is very small. It's like there's a thin line, because even it's not about either cloud or on-premise. We already know there's organizations, due to compliance and regulations, they have to set up hybrid environments. They have to have some of their data on-premise, and they have to have infrastructure around that. So that tells you that it's really not about a transition, and it's either you're doing traditional or cloud security. The thing is, are you ready to adapt? Are you able to appreciate and embrace that cloud is there to stay? And you also need to make sure that as our users, as our end clients are using cloud, they are assured of their data, they are assured that their services are still available, and definitely they are assured that they're getting value for their investment or money.
Exactly. And right now, come to the question that all the people asked, so basically, comes right now, what about the academic part? I mean, like, okay, we know that it exists a lot of resources in learning cybersecurity, but how I can build that academic background to say that, okay, I'm right now in cloud security. So, I mean, like, the question itself is, what about the educational background, and what about also the certifications? Because we know whatever in all the IT fields, you need to be certified. And right now, how I can choose, and what is like the recommended certifications to be a cloud security engineer?
That's a good question, Mohammed. And I know it usually creates a lot of debate in different spaces. People say, why is this job description requiring a degree, an undergraduate degree? I think I already have the hands-on. Why are you not giving me this opportunity? I'm having these certifications. Why are you not giving me this opportunity? Why are you putting these requirements? And what I can say is, yes, we have certifications. Yes, we have academic degrees. We have even undergraduate degrees in forensics, cybersecurity. And even these days, we have, like, even I'm hearing that there's degrees in AI, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
What you can spend, like you're saying, you're spending 4 years just to learn about how you're going to do data science and AI. But what I can say is this, is that what matters is as you're going through your learning journey, whether you're doing a degree, whether it's in computer science or in whichever, or is a specialized degree like in cybersecurity, what matters a lot is what are you doing each and every step of your journey? Are you building a portfolio? You're better off getting out with a 4-year degree full of portfolio rather than a certification and no hands-on skills. And then again, it's very important to have a certification together with hands-on skills rather than a 4-year degree, and the only thing you can show for it is the transcripts and A grades and B grades. And if you're told, can you just help us secure these cloud infrastructure, then you are blank because you didn't go above and beyond. So what I can say is, if you're trying to get into cloud security, most of these cloud vendors have certifications. For example, AWS has the AWS Certified Security Specialty. Happy to say that I recently passed that exam. It was a hard exam, but I'm happy that I passed it because it had been one of my bucket list certifications to show that I'm validated and I know what cloud security is all about. So most of the vendors, even Azure has the Azure Security Engineer Associate. GCP has the Google Cloud Platform. So all these vendors do have certifications, but you can also look at the cloud agnostic vendors like ISC2. They have the Certified Cloud Security Professional, that is CCSP. And even ISACA has those around cloud audit and everything. So whichever you're looking at, even CompTIA, CompTIA is a very well-known and recognized globally certification providing body. But what I can say is, even if you have a ton of those certifications and you're really not building, you're not coming up with projects you can validate and saying that you can be able to solve this problem and that problem, or secure this infrastructure in one way or another, just solving real problems, then definitely that certification counts for nothing. There was one time when it was the gold, like it would just make you stand out. But these days, trust me, the employers, even the HR people, they already know that certifications are not the all in all. So anyone who is just insisting, says, I don't want to go and do a degree, I want to do a certification, trust me, it doesn't matter at all. And if you have an opportunity to do a degree, the beauty about having an undergraduate degree or even a postgraduate degree like a master's or a PhD is it is very easy for you to transition into executive level positions, because you're not going to be just seen as the hands-on person who can only work on these and being only an engineer. It is very easy for you to be seen as a person who can manage and lead a team, because you must be very versatile, having to be gone through a 4-year or a 2-year degree, and you did a lot of research and all these kind of things. So that is how I can put it, Mohammed.
Right. I totally agree, about that. And right now, when people, okay, they ask, okay, right now, I know, like, what about if I'm going to make a transition? Okay. Right now, I'm working in a specific field, like, let's say, I don't know, IT help desk, something else. But I just, I'm attracted right now to be a cloud security engineer. So the question comes like, right now, what is the challenges, right? People face when they make the transition, from traditional IT roles to a cloud security roles. I mean, like, because I know it's not really easy because, you're doing something like for some couple of years, maybe. So right now you're just about to face another challenges in cloud security. So what are the specific challenges?
Okay, first of all, I can say the challenges that come into, I can put them into like 3 buckets. The first one is like a change management kind of a challenge, because maybe you're really good at what you're doing, you're very comfortable, but moving on to any role, for example, like in cloud security, they pose new requirements that would require you to upskill. It also might require you to work with new people. It might also require you to maybe look for new roles or a job. So managing that kind of a change and being able to take that risk and say, this is the thing for me, that is the one bucket that I say would be one of the challenges. The second bucket of the 3 buckets that I can put is the pace of change, because you already know when you go to cloud, there's a lot of rapid change. People want to deliver software very fast. There's agile, there's DevOps, all these things. You even say now DevSecOps. Yeah. And that means that you have to work at a much faster pace compared to how you were. Maybe you had these number of calls that you could say, if I be able to do this, I can go home at maybe 4 p.m. and I'm done with the day. But with cloud, it means that you need to be upbeat and be ready to even work in odd hours and support your organizations. So that is the second bucket. The first one was change management. The second one is like the rapid change. And the third one is, the beauty is it is a two-way thing. It's very supportive. It's transferable skills. So Are you able to know the skills that you have in maybe IT help desk that can be transferable to cloud security? And maybe one example I can put is maybe the ability to articulate very technical terms and jargons to a customer in a way that they can understand. I know IT help desk and IT support staff are very good at that. They can help you understand, and they can ease you down and make you understand why you are having a certain challenge and take you to a solution. And that is also very important in cloud security, because you want these executives to avail to you a cybersecurity budget and support your security initiative in the organization. So it means that you don't want the executives to be bogged down with big jargons and you're doing these and all these different kind of key management service and encryptions and everything. You don't want to bog them down with that. What you just need to do is to tell them in very simple terms, if we don't do this, these are the repercussions. These are the challenges. Maybe challenges in compliance, challenges in risks posed to our customers, risks to the business reputation and such. So those are the 3, I could say, the challenges. The first one is the change management. How do you shift from a mindset that you had to a new mindset? The second one, as I've mentioned, is the rapid pace of change, because the environment is very different when you get to cloud. And finally, as I've mentioned to you, it's very important to look at those transferable skills so that you know that these are the things that even when you go to an interview and they say, you don't have a cybersecurity background, we see you have just been doing IT support, you can easily demonstrate and present yourself as someone who has skills that can be leveraged in the cloud security space.
Totally right. And basically, come another question. And right now, basically, this is for the fresh graduation, because right now I'm fresh graduated. I can say like my CV, that kind of a beginner. So I didn't find that opportunity that really, I can say, allow me to join the cloud security engineering role. So I started to think, about joining another roles that I could say maybe prepare me, because if I'm going to wait that, I'm going to waste a lot of time, right? So why not? And this is, by the way, this is a question one of my students. And he told me like, why not? Why not? I'm going to just start with specific role that will prepare me to be a cloud security engineer. And his question was like this. So what entry level positions or internships should, I could say, aspiring cloud security engineers look for to start their career? I mean, like, what is kind of the roles that really prepare me, or internships that really prepare me for my CV to later, I can say that I'm going to join the cloud security engineering as a second step?
That's a very good question. Thank you so much, Mohammed. And I'll try to personalize it by giving it through my story. I didn't find myself into cloud security. I tried a bunch of things. I tried networking, and I was just surviving through that class. I couldn't even think about doing the CCNA and everything. But I knew I needed the basics of networking so that I can do things around cloud. I usually tell people, you cannot secure what you don't understand. If it's API security, you need to understand APIs. If it's cloud security, you need to understand cloud. Whatever kind of security you're thinking about, you need to understand the assets that you're protecting. So the mistake that people do, especially even ourselves who are experts, we actually make it look to beginners that you can easily come out of campus and become a cloud security engineer. That there is no organization that can come and tell you, hey, you're an intern. Let us give you all our credentials. Let's let you do your pen testing on our production environment. There is no organization that will do that. So what happens is we need to understand, where do we want to fall in, which kind of, because there's a lot of different kinds, as you mentioned earlier. Cybersecurity is so wide, and even if you're getting into cloud, there's so many different kinds of security that you're going, because there are different kinds of workloads. There are AI ML workloads, there are maybe containerized workloads, there's APIs, and all these different things. What do you really want to secure? So what happens is, Mohammed, you have to look at, instead of just looking at, you're moving from maybe, as you mentioned, like let's say a software engineer, and then you're going to now later on decide, I can maybe become a software security engineer, or whatever it is. The mistake is trying to move from one step where you are to the next. The thing is, you have to look ahead and say, hi, Mohammed, I like to be a cloud security engineer. Then from there, you can now work backwards and say, what does it take to be a cloud security engineer? What courses should I take? What certifications should I do? What hands-on projects should I build? Once you do that, even if you're whatever role you're currently at, you're already building towards that. So any entry-level person, you should not be ashamed of your small resume or your CV, because once you already know what you want to achieve, or becoming a cloud security engineer in this case, it's very easy. You can go to any person's LinkedIn profile. Like, for example, you can go to my LinkedIn profile, and I can be able to show. You can be able to see. You don't even have to wait for my permission to see the certifications that I've done, the courses that I've done, the conferences that I go to, and all these different things. And if you follow the same kind of path, then definitely you're building towards becoming a cloud security engineer. So that is what we should be able to change as experts. Let us not put pressure onto new recent graduates and tell them, you have to do this, you have to do this certification. You know, the thing about it, Mohammed, is that these certifications are very pricey. Any certification, they're very expensive. They're not easy for any person who doesn't have a job to get them. And the thing is, if people already know that when you get into a certain job and you've gotten a role, maybe even as an intern, that is my advice to any entry-level person. All these cloud vendors, if it's AWS, don't try to look for how you can go and work at AWS. You're going to make your work very hard. Get a consulting partner. AWS has a ton of partners in almost every country. And you can even, in the partner directory, it's there, open for you. You can go, if you are maybe in Morocco, you can just go and search which are the different kinds of, who are the partners who are here. And then you can now do a background check and say, how can I get to become an intern? And sooner rather than later, they'll accept you. You don't have to say you want to get into security, and you'll be able to position yourself as the person who can be consulted for in terms of matters security and cloud. And that is the easiest path. And later on, you can be able to now try to jump into any of the big techs, because you'll have already shown that you have a profile and something that you built, and you've helped clients and you've faced clients, and that is what they really want. But if you try to go directly to the big techs, then definitely you're cutting yourself short.
Totally. Yeah, that's totally right. And right now, basically, comes another question, which is, okay, we know the certification is like a little bit expensive, as you mentioned. I totally agree about that. So, and another information, well, talking, for example, here in Tunisia, it's like not, I can say a general case, but sometimes I can see the students a little bit struggling in finding some internship opportunities, specifically the beginners. Yeah, I can see that. So when they come, sometimes the question like, okay, you have to gain a hands-on experience. And then they told me how, like I didn't make it for an internship, and I know also the certification, it's a little bit expensive. So how I can make that hands-on experience? You want me just to take this step, but unfortunately, I couldn't find any internship because I'm a beginner, and also the certification and maybe the courses are a little bit expensive. So how they can solve that? How they can gain that hands-on experience without any internships or any other certification?
Amazing. I love that question, Mohammed, because people think you have to break the bank for you to get these skills. I even see people try their best to enroll to some microwave boot camps, a 3-month boot camp, promising you're going to get the best job ever after those 3 months. And that's a lie. They're in business. They really want to sell you that boot camp. And then you, after that, they're not even going to support you in terms of any placements as internships. So what I usually say is all these different providers, whether you're thinking about, and you can start with any, it doesn't have to be AWS or GCP. They have platforms for you to do free learning. And because they already know they have a responsibility towards becoming diversity, inclusivity, and accessibility of their learning. For example, for hands-on learning, we already know maybe Microsoft has Microsoft Learn and the Azure Sandbox. So you can easily set up, for example, especially if you're a student and you have a student email, you can sign up for an Azure account and you're getting $200 free worth of credit that you can start doing your hands-on, and you can leverage the hands-on coming from Microsoft Learn. If it's AWS has AWS Educate, and it's a totally free platform. You can be able to do that. You can open up your free account and start doing workshops from AWS workshops and well-architected labs. Same case for GCP. So all these different providers, they have free offerings. I know sometimes they also say, if you want to do more of these, you can maybe get into a paid subscription. But trust me, where I am right now, Mohammed, I've never gotten to a point where I need to pay for a subscription for me to leverage this, because what I usually need, and the beauty about this, the secret is also be part of communities. For example, when you join your user group, you sometimes get free credits. You get, maybe there's a certification challenge and maybe there's a workshops challenge. And then they are providing these opportunities, maybe an immersion day, and they're saying we are going hands-on on this particular topic. So when you leverage also the community, then you're capable of doing much, much more. And when you start building, we usually say this, Mohammed, the best way to learn something is to teach, right? Mm-hmm. So okay. Don't be afraid to start your own YouTube channel and tell people what you've learned about something. Don't be afraid to set up your Medium blog or a publication or whichever platform, blogging platform you want to use, and start telling people what you're learning. Because the moment you do that, you're already doing what most people are not doing, and share it to the world, because you never know. Let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you one story, Mohammed, because you're going to love this. There was one time I was doing an article. I was starting out. I started out blogging last year, in October of last year. I was actually I thought it is a preserve for very good people and geniuses to write something that people will follow hands on. So when I did one, and I shared with my mentor, she's called Veliswa. She's a senior developer advocate at AWS for Africa. I didn't know what she was going to do. Do you know what she did? She took that, it was an article about securing Amazon S3. So what she did to that article, after reading it, she shared it with a senior S3 storage specialist to review it. And if I knew that would happen, maybe I felt like I should have written it better, or maybe I could have even made me not to even write it at all. But what happens is, she is called Ali Henderson. He actually came to my DM and says, I've been pinged by Veliswa to look at your article. I love it, and maybe you can improve on it by putting the latest security best practices that are available on our blog here. And it really boosted my confidence. It actually changed my whole perspective around blogging. So I hope that will also inspire someone to say, you just get started, because you never know who is watching.
Exactly. You never know. And to be honest, even if you're an expert, it's amazing that, like what you learn, you can share. So, because people think that you're an expert, you know everything. No, I mean, like, you are always learning, and we know that it exists, day by day, some things in you, and you have to keep yourself updated. So yeah, it's amazing to do that. And yeah, coming to that, and that the words from IT, it's like changing in a fast way. So here coming another question, like, what trends or emerging technology in cloud security should newcomers to the field be aware of? Now, I'm going to the cloud security engineer. I don't know, like, I got some certification, whatever, maybe some hands-on experience, but okay, I have to keep an eye about the new thing. Now, what is the new technologies or the new things that I have to be aware of in a cloud security engineering?
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Mohammed. And what I can say is, it's pretty easy to look at these trends by doing a very simple thing. Every provider, whether it's AWS, GCP, Azure, they have a security blog, a dedicated blog on security. And you can always look at these. And something that is gaining traction right now in the industry is multi-cloud. So how do you secure multi-cloud environments? Because people, like most organizations, they are trying to avoid the vendor lock-in. They're trying to make sure that their workloads are spread across different providers. So how do you assure security across all these different providers? Because some have some differences in terms of how they handle security. The other thing is that is gaining traction is AI ML security, because most organizations, they don't want to leverage public models like ChatGPT or Gemini. They want to set up their own model and train them with their own organizational data. So how do you ensure that you secure these models from maybe being infiltrated by attackers, and then they leak data from the organization through prompt injection and such? So AI/ML security is also gaining traction. And then the other thing is zero trust architectures. So zero trust is where you're making sure that there is no device that you're just allowing. You're making sure that even if it's mine and I'm an employee, it has to have already gone through the process of being validated and being allowed to access resources, whichever. Then finally, the other one that I can say is identity and access management is already becoming very important in the cloud space. So that means, how do you leverage the principle of least privilege? Because organization may start with one or two cloud accounts, like AWS accounts, but as they move on, they would receive the need to get like 30 accounts. So how do you manage security across different teams using different accounts using organizations and such. So identity and access management, and how you can have things such as even policy as code. How can you automate like ensuring that there's no misconfiguration? Maybe somebody might decide they are going to open port 22 for SSH. And as a company, you've agreed that you're not going to ever leverage port 22 to the internet publicly. So if somebody does that, it should be automatically be deleted. That configuration should be automatically be deleted without any manual human intervention. So those kind of areas are key areas to look at when it comes to those emerging trends. And also, just to mention, there is something that I just come to my mind, that is frameworks. For example, like standards like ISO, ISMS, Information Security Management Systems, and also things around maybe GDPR and also data protection. I know most countries are now setting up, and also if they already if they don't have, they have some ways of data protection. So, and data residency, you've seen even cloud providers trying to say that they're having sovereignty of data, trying to prove that your data is not being stored in another country, and all these different kinds of areas. So very important to look at things around data protection, as well as also these regulations and standards that govern how things are done, whether whichever kind of platform that you're using. Most organizations would want to follow these standards.
Yeah, that's totally amazing. So, dear Kevin, I want to thank you so much for sharing this amazing thoughts. And, in each episode, the classical question that I have to ask, do you like to convey any message or to give any advice for the people who want to really join cybersecurity? Just kind of guidance to not losing their way. I know many people who are just at the beginning, they're excited. Cybersecurity, hacking, Mr. Robert. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
They lost their way. So do you like to just give that message to who is watching?
Sure. I only have two messages in very two simple sentences and phrases. The first one is show up. There's no way an opportunity will come to you at the comfort of your bedroom or wherever you are. Just show up. Show up to an event, show up to a workshop, show up to your instructor if you are in a class. Just make sure that you don't just become a bystander in anything that is going on in your life. Always show up. It is going to take you to the next level. The second one is to build. Don't stop building. Do your hands-on, because if you build a project, you never know how that project is going to help you in one or another. So those two things: show up and build. Go on and build.
Just amazing thoughts. Thank you so much, Sir Kevin, for this amazing changes and the words that you give. Guys, I'm gonna just put later the LinkedIn of Kevin. Please follow him. He's doing a great job for the community. Thank you so much. It's gonna be a pleasure to have you in another episode. Your thoughts.
Yeah, sure.
The audience.
I'd be happy to be here back in another session with you, Mohammed. I love the way you host. I think this is one of the best. I don't want to mention because I've been in other podcasts and somebody will say, Kevin, he always says, is it the best podcast? So, but I love this. And I'm so happy. I can't wait to be back for another one.
Thank you so much. It's a totally pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. So, dear Kevin, thank you so much for all the efforts that you're doing. Again, guys, I'm going to share all the links related to Kevin. And absolutely, just tell us what is the next topic that you want to talk about in our podcast. So, dear Kevin, thank you so much again for being a part of this episode. And I'll pleasure to see you again. See you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Mohammed. Have a nice one.